welcome, and thanks for joining us in our Christmas Remembrance service. I'm Nicole, the Managing Funeral Director here at the Mundell Funeral Home. It is our sincere wish that this short time together will bring you some element of comfort and an opportunity to remember your loved one. Our short time together will consist of a time of reflection, meditation, musical tribute, and video tribute. I want to thank those participating today, the Reverend Karen Horst, pianist Marshall Martin, soloist Krista Cameron, and videographer Mark Hartshorn.
Mary, Did You Know is such a powerful song, and no matter what our belief system is, it reminds us that not everything is in our control, how we want life to be so ordered and regular, and yet that song is just such a clear reminder that things can happen. And we certainly know this year with COVID that we have faced all kinds of changes and the change to routine. But even more, most of you have lost a very dear loved one, and so that in itself is enough to stop us in our tracks. And when those moments come, it's important for us to learn yet again what we need to do to heal, to recover, to deal with the journey of grief itself. And I certainly know personally what it is to have tragedy in my life. It was when I was 21 that my dad dropped dead of a heart attack, and several other loved ones were dead before I was 26. So these tidbits that I share with you, these essential ways of being through grief, are very heartfelt, experienced in my own life, but also the wisdom of a person called Alan Wolfelt. He's a PhD and does all kinds of work at the Center for Grief and Life Transition. And you can visit their website to learn many more things and many of the books that he's written. And one of the things that he makes very clear to us, and I know from my own reality, is that we have to accept that death has happened. And that sounds so simple, and yet it's not. We can find all kinds of ways to try and avoid, to pretend that it hasn't happened. But one of the gifts that we can give to ourselves is to actually acknowledge that this death has occurred, that we have gone through it. Be sure to rehearse the details. Be sure to revisit what it was like, both the hard moments and the blessings. And as we do that, it helps us finally to come to terms with the fact that our loved one has died. And we really don't want to hear this, but I know from my own direct experience that we have to embrace the pain. We can't shove it to the side. We can't bury it. We can't hope that it'll just go away. The only way to process all that we've gone through is to deal with the pain that it brings up. And strangely enough, in the midst of all of that, we may find some blessings, some lessons, some gifts to be learned, but we need to embrace the pain nonetheless. In small doses, not that a huge tidal wave has to wash over every day, but ever so gradually, we deal with the hurt until it hurts less and less each day. It's important that we remember our loved ones as well. I remember when my father died, my mom tried to heave everything out in the backyard. And at the time, it didn't make any sense to me, but I realized she was just trying to omit him from her life, that somehow if she got rid of all of the things that reminded her of him, that would make it better, but it didn't. And so it's actually better to go back and just remember the good experiences, the wonderful joys, the funny jokes you've shared, all of those experiences that are rich, and also remember them for all of their strengths and their weaknesses. Because as we deal with our loved one and what they've really meant to us, we come to terms with the fact that they have died, but their memory lives on in us, and they will always be a part of our heart. One of the challenges for us as well is that when we deal with the death, we really lose who we are in the moment. We really have to find a new kind of self-identity. And so it's important for us to realize that we have to change, that life will never be the same that it was. And yet again, strangely enough, as we work through all of these difficult moments, we learn more about ourselves. We learn more lessons about life, and we learn a new kind of reality that becomes our future. It's important that we search for meaning. Death has this way of bringing up all the questions of why, and why now, and where is our loved one? And many of those questions are important ones to ask. And don't be afraid of them, but rather embrace them and realize that they encourage you to push deeper, to understand the more significant things that are going on in life and death. And be sure to not try and do this alone. Some people think that if they can just keep their chin up stiff enough, or if they remain stoic enough, that they'll be able to travel through this. But you need those real friends around you, the people that can hear without judgment, the people that will know if you're angry today, it may not be how you're feeling tomorrow. Just allow those persons in your life and be willing to reach out to them, to seek their help and their listening ear when those times come when you're feeling difficult. I brought with me also the Mourner's Rights. You may or may not know that it's the Human Rights Month And the UN has established the 10th of December as that. And so I thought I'd bring also the kind of rights that you can claim for yourself as you go through grief. And if you get a chance, play through this again. And you may get a chance to write them down and put them on your fridge, just as a reminder of how to travel through this process. Here are the lists of the rights for those who are mourners. You have the right to experience your own unique gift, and that gift even is grief. No one will grieve exactly as you, and you have much to learn. You have the right to talk about your grief, and you have the right to be silent. You have the right to feel a multitude of emotions, sometimes all at once. You have the right to be tolerant of your physical and emotional limits and where they are in the given day. You have the right to experience grief bursts, those moments that are overwhelming and yet they're very real and very natural. You have the right to make use of ritual, whether it's funerals or lighting candles, as we'll do in a couple of minutes. You have the right to embrace your spirituality and work through questions and doubts. You have the right to search for meaning and purpose. And you have the right to treasure your memories. And you have the right to move toward and through your grief to healing. I'm going to invite you to join me as we light some candles. And you'll see these candles to my left. And the candles are for the past, for the present, and for the future. And this will be a chance for us to go through one of those rituals that will be meaningful to some and maybe not for others. But sometimes it's important to pause in a day or to pause in a week just to remember and to celebrate. And so I invite you to do that. The first is the candle for the past. And it's important, as we mentioned earlier, that we go back into our past, that we remember, that we cherish memories, that we take the time, even in the busyness of our contemporary day, to recall, to celebrate, to cry, to rehearse all of the things that meant so much, so that we are reminded of how rich that experience in the past has been. Remember the past and give thanks. But we also move into the present. The present is one of those moments that we can't relive. It's now. It's the time to celebrate all that this day brings, its possibilities, all of its emotions and relationships. And the present is something that we can do and work toward healing for ourselves, but for the world around us. And this day is a day to celebrate ourselves and to celebrate all of the possibilities. So in the present, let us give thanks. But there's also the future. Grief is a process. And so it's important for us to continue to anticipate what that future is going to look like. A future where we feel less pain. A future where we can celebrate our new identity. A future with unexpected gifts of love. A future where grief will always be a part of us, and yet it won't feel overwhelming. A future with all kinds of possibilities that we can't begin to anticipate. We light the candle for the future, and we give thanks. It is my prayer for you today that you have a Christmas and a new year that is filled with hope, where you seek healing and wholeness and peace. Amen.
powerful video. I know just watching the face of my step-grandfather and some dear friends. I do want you to know those photos today have already appeared virtually, either on our website, Aurelia Matters, or Aurelia Today. We as a team just want you to remember to be patient with yourselves. For the love and the memories of our loved ones never end.